In this video series, we introduce to you the books by Dion Fortune. The following is about the 12th chapter of Practical Occultism in Daily Life, in which Dion Fortune writes about unmated and unpolarized people regarding the exchange of magnetism. It is about finding a solution for this problem. Brotherhood of the Eternal Light. Teaching the Western Mysteries.
Chapter 12. The Problem of the Unpolarized. Having pointed out the importance of the exchange of magnetism between the sexes, I shall naturally be asked concerning the problem of the unmated and therefore unpolarized. I have dealt with the psychological and physiological aspects of this problem in detail, together with their practical applications, in my book, The Problem of Purity, Writer. And there is therefore no occasion, neither is this the place, to go into these aspects in their practical details. It may be of interest, however, to show the principles which must be taken into account in seeking a solution of this problem. We live in an epoch of rapid changes in public opinion, and therefore in private conscience. The conditions that prevailed at the time the problem of purity was written have largely passed away, and although its practical advice is still valid, some of the problems it was designed to overcome have solved themselves. There is no longer the rigid taboo upon the discussion or even the private study of what the Americans call sexology. It would be difficult to find anyone nowadays who is fundamentally ignorant of the facts of life, nor outside the ranks of the neurotic will one find anyone who shies away from the subject in horror. It has taken its place along with such problems as sanitation and eugenics. It is one of the problems that is not usually broached at the dinner table among those who have only just been introduced, but which can be dealt with without panic when the occasion arises. Our attitude towards sex is no longer comparable to the attitude towards ghosts of the person who has occasion to pass through the churchyard at midnight. Experience shows that the average healthy person of sound stock who has had a reasonably wholesome upbringing and is neither repressed nor stimulated in matters of sex may have a certain amount of difficulty at the two periods of stress, puberty and the change of life, when the endocrines are temporarily out of balance, but that apart from this, their physical sex life is a self-regulating mechanism. If it is not, it is a case for the doctor, and probably quite a simple one. Much that in the old days was taken to a priest can be readily and effectually dealt with by an aperient. The problem of non-polarization is not one that either arises or is solved on the physical plane alone. It occurs in marriage as well as out of it, and in fact, marriage breaks up on this point more often than any other. Nor is it only the childless marriages that split on this rock. As seen in previous pages, the etheric magnetism radiated by the male is not limited in its manifestation to actual physical relations. It is concentrated there. It is true, but it is also being radiated all the time at a low potency. If, therefore, the unmarried woman has opportunity of comradeship and social intercourse with congenial males, she will get quite enough male magnetism to prevent her from suffering from a deficiency pathology analogous to those which occur when there is a lack of fresh fruit and green vegetables. The warping of character and conduct in the unpolarized female is just as much a deficiency disease as scurvy. There is another factor, however, which plays a part in producing the symptoms of that condition which starts as prudery and carried to extremes becomes old maid's insanity. There are only three ways in which a woman can achieve independence and, consequently, the full development of her adult individuality. She must have private means, she must have adequate wage earning capacity, or she must marry. Many pathologies, which are regarded by the psychoanalysts as sex repressions, are really individuality repressions, where some women, dependent upon the whims of relatives for the means of existence, has been condemned to a narrow and thwarting life as the daughter at home. It is rare to see this type of pathology among bachelor women, even if the home of the bachelorhood be only a bed-sitting room. Be it ever so humble, and be their means never so narrow, they can at least be themselves, and their personalities are not repressed or warped. There is all the difference in the world between a thwarting by circumstances from without and the thwarting of impulses from within by a misplaced sense of duty, or lack of courage to do the thing that is desired. We must remember, however, that there is just as wide a range in the needs of individuals with regard to their sex nature as there is in their appetite for food. There are persons for whom celibacy is unsatisfactory or even incompatible with health and peace of mind. There are others who not only have no need of marriage, but would never make satisfactory mates. Both these extremes are within the limits of normality. Happiness and good morals, provided square pegs are not driven ruthlessly into round holes. If one of the first type marries one of the second type, naturally there is trouble, though both might have been perfectly satisfactory mates for persons of their own type. It is time we gave up thinking of sex as a vice, as the Christians think of it, or as a virtue, as the Hindu thinks of it, and regard it as a function, for that is how nature thinks of it, and at the last resort she enforces her views. It is a function, however, which has to be exercised in relation to the rights and needs of other persons. It can never be an end in itself save for the heartless libertine. It is the social aspect of the sex problem that complicates it so much and prevents it from being a simple problem of function like nutrition. We shall get some salutary light in the problem, however, if we remember that there was a time when the amount a man drank was the subject of almost as rigorous social taboo as the purity of a woman is subject to nowadays. The teetotaler in a regimental mess in the good old days had just as bad a time of it as the unfortunate female who has lost her virtue. This should give us to think and humble our spiritual pride. Generation by generation, public opinion is coming more and more into line with physiological fact in relation to matters of sexual morality, and slowly but surely the law is catching up with public opinion. The more desperate problems of marriage and celibacy are becoming rarer. A marriage that has proved to be a mistake can be dissolved without ruining the lives of either party, provided the financial aspect is capable of solution. It is the throwing of a penniless middle-aged gentlewoman upon the unskilled labor market that is the real divorce problem. As far as social hardship or moral problems go, a man might keep as many ex-homes going as he could afford. That, in fact, is what high society does, and no one appears to be any the worse for it. The acutest sex problems do not occur at the top of the tree, where there is sufficient money to allow of the free play of both temperaments, nor at the bottom, where the woman has to do her own housework and raise her children unaided, but in between, where there is neither enough money for freedom nor enough work for idle hands to do, and folk have time to get into mischief and to feel sorry for themselves.
Violet Mary Firth, also known as Dion Fortune, was an important British occultist, ceremonial magician, and author. The Brotherhood of the Eternal Light is in direct lineage with the tradition of Dion Fortune and recognizes her as a spiritual ancestor. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please feel free to write them in the comments. We will create a video to answer your questions after this video series. Would you be interested in us commenting on the writings of Dion Fortune and explaining in more detail her teachings in spiritual philosophy? If so, let us know in the comments. Visit our free online course on Western mysteries and Kabbalah or our live events on these topics. And if you haven't already done so, please like this video and subscribe to the channel.
See you soon in our next video.